Hello, and welcome back to the studio's Backlot Podcast. Today, we're going to actually be putting the studio backlot part into good use. Because today, we're talking about Alex Point. Anyways, yeah. So, if you haven't already watched Alex Point, link will be down below. It's not on this channel. It's on a secondary channel. So it's I don't know. I feel like I've done enough Alex Point videos. That is hard to miss, but we'll find out. So really, what we're gonna be doing here is I'm gonna be really talking about the behind the scenes stuff, what I did in production, and obviously these both were actors in it as well. So like, and Brandon, he's been on multiple sets. So obviously, this is my first time directing a movie. So he can definitely be like, oh yeah, this is what Alex did wrong. This is why Alex is stupid. And honestly,
the entire project, everything was just completely incorrect.
I had Cole on a little bit, so I definitely got a little bit of like, oh, that makes sense. Because I definitely, if you listen to director's commentary, I actually talked about this one in depth. But the 180 degree rule, I was like, that's for suckers for most of the film. It didn't hurt most scenes, because in most scenes I followed it without even thinking about it. Then you have stuff like scene 10, where I think in theory I liked the script there, and while it did come together well, the 180 degree rule could have elevated that scene from being decent to actually good. Because I definitely think that scene in particular was hurt for me not following the 180 degree rule. Because where's the 180 degree line? Because I set up the 180 degree line like 3 times, and I never stick to any one plane, and it's like, Alex. Where scene 6, which is the same type of scene, which is a Jim Bob Zach scene, it's followed. And that scene, I actually like that scene quite a lot. And minor little things like that make it just smoother. And it's just as a whole, I learned a ton. Like, double check the camera settings before you hit the record button, because you might have a completely blown out picture. The fist fight scene, you never saw how bad it looked before I did any color grading, Brandon.
No, I did not.
What's in the movie? Obviously, it doesn't look great. I think it looks good. I think I made it look watchable.
I agree.
I think it looks good.
I thought it was really funny.
But that was also with hours of color grading. Okay, hour and a half of color grading. Before color grading, oh, it was horribly washed out. Horribly washed out, especially the middle parts. The middle parts were... Oh, it was bad. And if you watch the behind the scenes, if you watch the blooper reel, none of the stuff there is color graded. So that's how all the scenes were originally shot. So like, the scenes that we filmed in the garage have the yellow tint and all. And the fight scenes are blown out like crazy. Just in general, you two, you were there pretty much every single day, both of you. So, obviously, you're the 2 people I know on this channel that also want to be actors as well. So, obviously, y'all killed it. Obviously. I'm saying, I take a shot every time I say obviously. You'll be dead by the hour. Now, of course, these guys were the only 2 people in my cast that want to be actors full time. Which is one of the reasons Brandon was one of the first people I went out to. And this is a director's commentary story as well. But Seth, you were one of the later people I asked to be in the film. You still got asked the same day as everyone else. I asked everybody on the same day. Besides maybe Cole and Britt. But then I started writing the script, and then I was halfway through, I was like, oh crap. Seth said yes. Which is why I gave you all the badass moments. That was my way of apologizing to you. That's why you're the one that disarms Jim Bob. You're the one that gets, like, the final line besides me in the Alex Point universe. There's a couple other moments. I made sure to give you cool moments because I felt bad about that one. I was like, oh, God. And I just
I
sat
heard
there.
everyone in the theater.
I just sat there and was like, okay, did I forget anyone? Because obviously, this is a short film with a lot of characters. So getting the balancing right was definitely something that I had to like, okay, how do I want to balance this? I knew right off the bat that Brandon Mann had to be a main character.
Yeah.
Zach is one that unintentionally became a really, really, really big character.
Yeah, I would argue he was the main protagonist besides Alex.
No, I would argue he is the main protagonist, including Alex, actually.
Really? Yeah, I could see it.
And that was unintentional. That's just how the cards laid out. Zach became incredibly important. You know, it all worked out. He's an extremely charismatic actor, so it works out. It worked out very well. In fact, again, I said in director's commentary, but Alex is useless to the story. He starts the universe, and that's all he does. The main story is the brothers uniting to fight Jim Bob. Alex does nothing in the fight against Jim Bob. Nothing.
That is a good point. He's just kind of there.
Yeah. And he just undoes it at the end. That's all he does.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, I thought of a way that I could have made it so that Alex was relevant is by having Jim Bob win, and then Alex was like, oh crap, I need Alex win again. But that's not the kind of ending I want. This is a stupid, silly camp film. I don't want the villain to win in any way, shape, or form. No. So, obviously, as cool as an alternate universe that ending would have been, was never really on the table, and I didn't even think about it till recently, to be honest. Another thing I did think of recently is a middle of the film Jim Bob scene, because is actually kind of a lack of them. You never see Jim Bob's reaction to Alex escaping.
Oh, yeah. Huh. Well, does he ever know?
He should. That's the thing. Obviously, at some point, he had to. Which is why I kind of came up with a fun idea that when he takes Brandon Man into custody, he actually takes him to the same prison that Alex was in. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm throwing you with a very special prisoner. And then he gets down there, and Brandon Man's just silent. And he gets down there, and he's like, what the hell? Where's Alex? And then Brandon Man just gets to make fun of him and be like,
nerd.
There's also never a direct reaction of Zach betraying him. Obviously, he knew Zach was a traitor, but we never see like a little scene of like, oh, yep, just what I thought. And I don't know why I didn't write those, because I was looking for more scenes, as I definitely felt like there was some scene missing, which is why I tried to compensate with post and end credit scenes that ended up being cut anyways. But I think those scenes could have been a really insightful look of, oh, this guy's just a dirtbag. And I think would have been cool to actually see his reactions. Though, I'm not a good actor, so a part of me is like, oh, good thing you don't actually get to see those, because they wouldn't be acted well.
Well, I mean, the Jim Bob Alex scene was acted pretty well, in my opinion.
It's funny you say that, because you were there on the filming, where I just didn't know my lines.
Yeah, that part wasn't great, but it turned out fine. And in the final product, it turned out fine.
And I said this in the director's commentary, but the dialogue, for the most part, actually I do like. The worst moments dialogue-wise are where we obviously don't know our lines.
Right.
That's the worst moment dialogue-wise. And it's funny, like, obviously I came to that first day, I was like, I don't think I need to learn my lines that much, because I was more focused with the pre-production stuff. And then we got to that scene, we were way ahead of schedule, and then that monologue. We were no longer ahead of schedule.
For like 20 minutes.
We spent more than 20 minutes.
Was it more?
We spent an hour on that scene.
No shot.
Huh.
Did we really?
Was it actually an hour?
That's nuts.
We were way ahead of schedule before that, too. Like, that is where I planned the end of the day. And we were way ahead of schedule until I did not know my monologue. So I made sure to know my lines after that. Which brings us to my final monologue. I practiced that so much and I forgot it at camera roll. So the final speech is all improv. It's all improv using what I practiced for the past 3 weeks as template. Because I practice the ending monologue so much. But I think I was a little flustered because of how bad I am at sword combat, and I just forgot it. And I was just like, when we hit the record button, I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. What's the line? I guess I'll make it up. And that's why we actually did it a second time. And the version that made it into the movie was a lot more closer to the original script, but it wasn't fully there. Which is why I shouldn't act. That's why Multiverse of Alex probably won't be made, even though I really like some of the ideas. I'm still gonna write it. And I'm gonna, even if I don't film it, I'm gonna write that Brandon Man mini film. Because it'll be nice and short, and it also kills off Brandon Man. Well, it does a Dark Knight Rises, because it'll give a lot more lore to who Brandon Man is. Because when he grew up in 2005, he watched Batman Begins in theaters, and he left. And he's like, "Wow, I love Batman," because he was neglected.
1 year old. I was 1 year old in 2005.
But he left the theater and be like, wow, Batman's so cool. And he's like, what are the two things I wish I could be? Batman and my brother Brandon. Which is where Brandon Man comes from.
That's very cool.
That's actually kind of sweet, yeah. And then Brandon feels all insecure about Brandon Man.
Yeah, it's fun. And all the brothers just conveniently forget who Brandon Man really was, because he was considered so insignificant before he put on the mask that they forgot his real name.
Damn.
Yeah.
Poor Brandon.
And by the end of the film, Brandon Man essentially does a Dark Knight. He's like, you know what? It's time. Let's do a Dark Knight Rises moment. And he sacrifices himself, and Brandon Man dies, and he just becomes Trevor. But he doesn't tell his family that he's alive. He drops the fake name. He's like, I think my name was Trevor. He doesn't even know. He just thinks that was his real name, and just adopts
Trevor.
that, and because it'd be a buddy cop movie, so he just becomes a cop at the end. So it's like, no more superhero, but I'll still enforce the law.
Imagine if his parents actually did name him Brandon Man, like Meg's parents in Family Guy named her Megatron.
I mean, they named one of their kids Jim Bob. They named one of their kids Flambino. It's not off the table.
Their dad's name was Uncle Sam.
Yeah, his name is literally Uncle. Our parents are Uncle and Aunt.
Aunt Samantha.
No, Aunt Jemima. Jemima's her last name. She didn't change it.
Oh, yeah.
She didn't change it. That's so dumb.
I know. I didn't come up with that. Uncle Sam was Josh, Aunt Jemima was you.
Was me?
Yeah. We weren't all
Was it
siblings yet. Josh made a joke how his father was Uncle Sam, and then you made the joke that Aunt Jemima was your mother. And then later on, we made a joke how we're all brothers, so I connected the dots.
Fair. I guess.
Yeah.
Memory of a goldfish, I swear.
Well, remember,
I
I have to
back.
edit all the compilation videos and all that. So some of this lore is like
Just
beaten in my
ingrained.
head at this point.
Yeah.
Like, I can tell you the series that most of these jokes originate from, which is crazy. I can give you rough episode numbers as well. Not like exact episode numbers. It's like Us All Being Brothers. That was World 4 3D World, but it was before your first song, which means it's probably episode 9. I don't know that off the top of my head. The mother and father thing, those originate from episode 13 of Shadows of Lentia, the patriotic episode.
That tracks.
That's also where all of our birthdays made July 4th originates from. That's also the series that my basement being a dictatorship originates from. That series had so much lore. And we were just saying random stuff. And wow, it became lore.
It tends to be how it goes.
Yeah. Since Alex point, we haven't been as lore focused, which I'm honestly fine with. because it was just so absurd, so much of it. And the great thing about the reset at the end of Alex's Point is how much of it even exists now, which is something that we always have the chance to play with. We're obviously all brothers, but that's really all that I confirm, which is cool. It really leaves the door open. Oh, and Uncle Sam's still our father. But our mother, who knows who her mother is now?
Mog. Dog mom.
Okay.
Mom dog. Mog.
And something else, I'm very curious to see what you both, I'm going to ask you what you guys think. Something that I very intentionally leave ambiguous is what did Alex go to the past and change to create the universe at the end of the movie? Now, I know. And it will actually, when I write Multiverse of Alex, it will be mentioned. But what did Alex change?
Well, really quickly, is Uncle Sam still alive?
Yep. No one is dead in the final universe. And Jim Bob is friends. Where is he?
My guess is that Alex went back in time and shared a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with Jim Bob, which made him friendly and not want to kill anyone. That's my guess.
You can go
As like children.
Well, okay. Based on your based on your reaction, was that it?
Essentially, yes, actually. That's essentially it. He went back to a young Jim Bob and was like, yo, I'm from the future. Stuff's messed up. Here's how we can fix it. And Jim Bob's no longer evil.
That's awesome.
What about Flambino in this case?
Well, Flambino's just master chaos. He was never evil. He was never good. He is chaotic. So Jim Bob's ideals aligned more with his own, so he joined Jim Bob. It's pretty cut and I feel like it's pretty clear that most of the brothers aren't evil. Then there's just Jim Bob.
Right.
And Flambino's also just his own, like, thing. Anyways, I guess I should talk more about the making of Alex Point and less about the character analysis of Alex Point. But essentially, I wrote the script. I did 3 drafts on it. I probably should have done more, to be honest. Just because there's definitely some... I do think the dialogue for the most part is fine. There's a couple of moments where I go, oh, he said the line is written. That's a bad line. Like, there's one that you say in scene 15 to Zach that makes me cringe every time. Are you expressively on our side now? Oh, God. That line cringes me I had to watch that movie 6 days in a row. All 6 days, that line made me uncomfortable because it's so not good.
But that's what happens. This was your first time writing, right?
Exactly. This is my technically it's not, but this is my first time writing. But really, the only other writing I've done was stories for school or the Batman radio show. So I had way more things that I need to worry about, like visuals and sets and physical actors and all that. And I didn't have to really worry about it all when writing that, but I did have to when writing this. This is my first time writing a proper screenplay, definitely. While I do wish the script got a couple more rewrites, I am overall happy with 99% of it anyways. Because the other worst part already did get rewritten during production, which is the final scene. Completely rewrote that, because the original one was too over the top, in my opinion. Too cheesy, too stupid. I rewrote it, mostly because I hated it, and Ethan wasn't able to come that day, so I needed to write him out. So... that's how the final scene got born, and I actually like it quite a lot. Besides my out of nowhere disgust face, I don't know why I look disgusted at the end, but that's just me not being a good actor. I think the actual scene it's fun, cheesy, lighthearted, happy, as it should be for the ending. But I wrote it. I even wrote a mid-credit scene to tease a sequel. I had no idea what the sequel would even look like at that point in time. Ironically enough, the sequel I have in my head now, that mid-credit scene is actually a really bad setup for, because that mid-credit scene sets up Jim Bob to be the main villain again. He's in a way he is, but it's not the Jim Bob from the ending universe. It's Jim Bob from the first universe. Technically. I actually fully talk about Multiverse of Alex in the director's commentary, by the way. So if anyone's curious, check that out, because I actually fully, talk about, my plot synopsis. After I did that, I just created this list of all the props I need, all the costumes I needed, and this is the spreadsheet that I also kept track of all my expenses up until the premiere. I haven't added all the paychecks I gave people to it yet, because I'm scared to see how much it really cost me.
Thanks again, by the way.
Yeah, of course. Only somewhere between $600 and $700, I'm pretty sure, is what I spent on it. Which, if you know films, is actually pretty cheap.
That's not bad.
That's actually pretty good. That's what happens when you don't pay your actors. I mean, what? I actually did pay them, but what? I could go. I actually think I already talked about when Cole was on the podcast. I'm pretty sure I talked about the whole him not wanting to be paid for composing is why the actors got paid. I gave his money to everyone else. I still forced him. I forced him to have $15. Then I paid for his McDonald's that night. Because after the premiere, we went to McDonald's to hang out. I paid for his food.
It was a fun time.
It was a fun time. It was weird because I had all my high school friends there, but I also had my college friends just right across on another table. It was just so weird, the blending of two worlds. I've already done some integration with James, but just seeing a whole group of them over there was like, this is weird.
My girlfriend came to the premiere, and she had a very similar thought, because she's a bit older than everyone else there. So she had the same kind of feeling of just two worlds colliding.
Yeah. It definitely was a fish out of water moment. It was they're all here because of me, but at the same time, this feels weird. But then the real big document, which is the giant scene list, who is needed, what props are needed, what costs were needed, and film dates, and all that stuff. Giant spreadsheet. As I filmed, I would update it. Oh, mark that green, mark that green. We didn't get to this, mark it red. Oh, maybe we need reshoots, mark it something else. And as I start editing, I also kept track of it, of this scene's almost done. This scene needs a lot more. This scene hasn't even been started. And just this giant list of all of that information. And then all the extra bonus credits of, oh, I'm attributing this person to helping with the camera on this scene. Some of the times the people actually did help. And sometimes, Cole, when he's credited as helping on the camera, he was actually fully running it, assistant director type stuff. Where Seth for scene 26, which is the cut mid-credit scene, I was like, Seth, come down to the basement. I'm putting your name on the clacker board. You're getting credit for it. And you know what? Why not? Why not? You may also notice that two people are... I put both Brandon and Riley's producers, and that's because they helped give actors either rides to buy food or actually fully supplied food. So I gave them extra credits for that.
And by that, he means I bought him Chick-fil-A once during filming.
No, you got stuff for the cast at least twice.
Did I?
Yeah.
I may have, actually.
You did Chick-fil-A? Then we also both bought pizzas on the late night. Which is where we actually improv'd a end credit scene that got added to the script. But then ultimately got cut.
Yeah.
That one, a part of me is mixed of maybe I should have actually kept it as a mid-credit scene. But at the same time, nah, I don't. The main reason I cut it is because of the dialogue that we said in it. Maybe I should have kept just the us eating as a fun little haha Avengers moment. But ultimately, I didn't need the mid and post credits. All they did was really pad the runtime, and I didn't need that.
Mhm.
So I was like, I don't need you. You could go away.
That's fair, you know.
Yeah. And obviously this was already a short enough script, so there wasn't a lot of padding. There wasn't a lot that I was like, oh, I need to cut part of the scene, or I need to cut the scene. Most of the cuts I made were for the sakes of trying to make the green screen look better or less awful, because this thing is tiny. My lighting setup is not good enough for a high-end green screen production. It works for what I do gaming video-wise, where I'm on a thumbnail, where I'm like cropped down and put in the top corner of a video. It works for that. But when you have like 4 people in front of this, it's hard to make it look good. There's some moments where the green screen does look good, and then there's others where it's like, and it doesn't look good. And obviously, you may also notice there's some really weird ultra zoom ins with lower resolution. And when that was on a green screen, that was because for some reason there was some kind of artifacting that I wanted to hide. Like the scene with me and Ethan, it's because I wagged my finger, and it'll just be so much green around my finger as it wags. There's one scene, and I believe scene 16. Oh, right, before anyone says anything at all, yes, I'm alive. I remember that because the green screen just did not want to work there. The Ultra Key did not want to work there, which is why it was so zoomed in on me, and why I looked so weird is because I had to like screw with the settings for that one shot for probably an hour to hour and a half. Yeah.
Well, from the
And it still
filmmaking-
did not look great. And I was like, this is good enough. This shot is screwed up. And I don't know why. Because everything else worked so much easier. And then there was that. And it was just like, why do you do this to me? Yeah. And it just didn't want to work. And it was a pain in the butt. Green screens as a whole, that's probably that and me not wanting to act are the main reasons why Multiverse of Alex probably will not be made. I'll still write it, but it probably won't go into production because of those 2 reasons.
Right.
Because it would be very green screen heavy. And
I just thought of a funny idea. If green screen wasn't a problem, you could recast Alex.
you see, it's a multiverse film, so I probably would have some versions of the core group played by different people. Like, maybe just a one random universe, have Seth play Zach, and then Josh play Brandon. It would just be so, like, weird, but I think it could be really funny. And then
Can
Zach
I play
could
Riley?
play...
You play what?
I want to play Riley.
And then Zach could play Brandon, man, and I think that'd be really funny.
Oh, that would be funny.
Especially if you have Josh being regular Brandon, and Zach being Brandon, man. Like, they look nothing alike. That could be really funny.
Just polar opposites.
And yeah, Zach could technically be the main antagonist. Zach from the original universe would be the main antagonist, because he'd be the head of the multiversal police agency. And I essentially destroyed the multiverse by doing Alex Point, so, you know. Because, like, when this isn't like a linear timeline. I go back in the past and everything changes. No, I go back in the past and now I create a new branch in the timeline. So the original universe, it still exists, except there's no Alex.
Oof.
The Alex Point universe still exists, except there's no Alex. So I can only imagine the post-Alex Point reaction for everyone else is like, we're still here. You've got to be kidding me.
Just vibing.
They're just like, God damn it, everything's in ruins. No Jim Bob, no Alex. Half of our brothers are dead. We're just here. What the heck?
That would have been a funny end credit scene.
That would've. Now I
Yeah,
wish
like-
I filmed that.
Where Alex just leaves and the rest of us are just like, so what the hell happens to us? Do we just stay here? Do we just vibe in this wasteland? What do we do?
Oh, I wish I thought of that earlier. That would have been
that would have been
great.
funny.
That would have been a hilarious ending. That would have been a good setup for Multiverse of Alex, actually. That would have been a better setup than the original mid-credit scene, which is really funny. Because the original mid-credit scene really only existed to give Brett and Cole more lines.
Oh, yeah.
Jokingly, Brett walked up to me after the premiere and was like, "You cut my scene!" Which is really funny, because Brett was the person who was most resistant to getting paid. He was somehow more
Really?
resistant than Cole. I think Cole had already accepted the fate that I was going to pay him, so he didn't put up a fight. Brett was like, he put up a little fight, but I was like, "You're taking the money. You're going to get paid, whether you like it or not."
I usually resist, and the only reason I didn't resist as much as I usually would have is because I figured you were doing this to everyone, and I didn't think, like, I already knew that you weren't going to take no for an answer.
Yep.
So I was just like, all right, I'm just going to accept my defeat early.
Yeah, I was not going to take no for an answer.
I'm not going to lie, I debated cashing it just period for a while, because, like, I can still kind of win this, but then I did.
I don't know if I have enough. I hope people cash it soon, because I don't know if I have enough money in my account. If people wait, because I don't know if I'll be able to guarantee that I always have the money in my account. And I don't want
Right.
people's checks to bounce. Because, like, I have a school trip coming out. My parents aren't going to be paying for it and all. But we're using my account because I'm the one with checks. So I'm just like, I don't have any money in my account now because my parents owe me all the money. And it's just like, okay.
Funny moment.
Let's see what happens. Let's hope checks don't bounce in the year 2024.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Yeah. This is the first time we've talked since the new year. I think it is.
It might be. It's the first time I have, at least.
Not me and Seth. Not me and Seth. We've done Fire Emblem since. But yeah, with you it is. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
2023 went by way too fast.
I kind of like it.
There's pros and cons.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just want to live in the moment. But also sometimes the moment's boring as hell and you want a new moment.
Yeah.
And that was 2023 for me. It was just boring. A boring year.
Yeah. I had a mix of a lot of things in 2023.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of anything that was actually, like, truly awful in 2023, and there's not a ton. Not a ton. Alex Point was really fun, obviously, and stressful. Especially that final month. Oh. That final month. Like, riding up to premiere was like, oh god. Because I don't think I've told you two yet. So obviously the gun tips are orange in the Alex Point universe. That's part of the lore now. But it wasn't always going to be.
Okay.
Christmas Eve is when I started editing, using After Effects to edit the gun tips, but it was taking too long and didn't look good. I had spent about 6 hours and was still on scene 5. That's the first scene with guns. I was still on that scene at 5 hours. This was Christmas Eve. So, midnight passed. Ethan on Zach's Discord was like, "Merry Christmas," and I was like, "Oh, I'm awake. It's 3 a.m. I'm awake. Merry Christmas." And Ethan was like, "Bro, what the hell are you doing up?" And I told him like, "Oh, I'm working on House Party." He's like, "Oh, fair." And I was like to him, "This isn't looking good, but I also worry that people will be like, orange gun tips? What is this? Fake?" And he was like,
was the one.
And we talked a little bit, and that's when I decided, yeah, I definitely want to scrap the orange gun tips, and you know, you can almost think of it as a Brechtism. I don't think either of you know what's his first name. Why can't I remember his first name?
I know a little bit of Brecht, but I don't know a lot of his stuff.
Oh, you do. So Bertolt Brecht is he is a German writer, playwright. Maybe I guess you could say a little bit of a philosopher. But one of the main things he did in his writing of stage and film is, and this is what essentially Brechtism is essentially a reminder to the audience that what you're seeing is fiction and not real. So he typically would do it with how like he'd write his characters in scenarios, but like a minor Brechtism might be a lens flare in a movie. Having a lens flare on a camera, I'd interpret that as a minor Brechtism, because it's obviously that serves as a reminder. Oh, what we were watching was filmed with a camera. Our eyes wouldn't have really seen that lens flare unless, obviously. But for the most part, people wouldn't actually see that lens flare. So obviously, this is a film, it isn't real. And you can almost see that orange gun tips as kind of a Brechtism of, oh, those aren't real guns. This isn't real. This is a movie.
Right.
Which I also think is a little bit more of a philosophical way to look at it, obviously. And that's not how I approach it at all. I'm pulling this out of my ass. I came up with this 2 minutes ago.
That's fair, you know? But 2 minutes can make a big difference.
It's
That's what
funny.
I always say.
In film classes, my classmates and teachers say, oh, and this could represent blank and blank about my films, and I'm like just sitting there. I'm not going to tell them, but I did not intend any of this. There's no deep connotation about water being in every shot because I'm talking about like some deep metaphorical thing involving water. I just think water looks cool.
That's fair.
Actually, that's a bad
argument.
example because I actually did say to the class on that one, there was nothing deep, I just like water. But it's that kind of thing. I'm like, I don't... When I have narrative storylines, I don't like making them overly symbolic. I'm the kind of guy that if I have a message, I'm hitting you with a metal spiked baseball bat. If I have a message, you're gonna know it. Now, obviously, through my film classes, I had to make more experimental films. And with these, like, no dialogue, no sync sound films, I do tend to make them more philosophical, of, like, what it means to be alive, what is it to like to die. And then there's my final film, where the message, the meaning of it was, does anything matter at all? I do that by having a completely absurdist satire, cheesy-ass comedy about a zombie apocalypse.
Beautiful.
Oh, I don't think you've seen it.
I've not.
I think you'd like it. It stars Kai, who's the guy I want to do the buddy cop with you on, actually. But essentially, it's about a guy who thinks he's in the zombie apocalypse. He's just hungry. He's not him when he's hungry. There's no zombies. He just gets there. He's just like, there's so many zombies, and there are many zombies. Extreme long shot. He's like an ant, and it's also like a high angle, so it's just like without funny stuff. And he goes to get a friend, but like he's obviously high energy. His friend is completely deadpan. So you obviously have that kind of like funny angle. And then you just have a fight scene to Ballroom Blitz by Sweet, where he's just swinging weapons and fighting these imaginary zombies during the music. And then it'll just cut to his friend. Music stops. He's just standing there like. And then it cuts back to him. But every time you see his friend, he's eating a Snickers bar.
I was gonna say, is this whole thing just like one gigantic, really long Snickers commercial? Because you said you're not you when you're hungry.
And then eventually he's like, bro, you're not helping anything. They have, like that little cat fight thing that we did in Alex Point?
Yeah.
I do that again. Yep, I do that again. Then, and then the guy who thinks there's a zombie apocalypse is like, they're doing stage fights, but like the worst stage combat you've ever seen. Like they're a foot apart. So he's just like, ugh. And then the other guy also does just one awful that he's like, oh! And he's reacting to all of them. And then he gets force-fed a Snickers and the zombies go away. And then they gaze into each other's eyes and they fall in love. and they're talking about getting married, and they walk off into the sunset, but it's actually not sunset. So the guy who thought he saw a zombie apocalypse says, "Have you seen Revenge of the Sith?" Other guy, "I've seen every other Star Wars movie." Him, "Well, I think I've lost the will to live, but I guess you don't get it," and just dies. He just dies. The other guy pulls out Snickers, takes a bite out of it, scene immediately cuts, he throws the Snickers in the mouth, pulls it out, he's at the funeral. Except there's no place to actually bury the body. Because it's just a parking lot. And the gravestone is just a piece of lined paper with a cross drawn on it. And I even wrote the actor's name, scribbled it out, then wrote the character's name. And then it cuts. Because it's a movie in a movie. And now you got the first guy who's like, I could go for a good Snickers bar. He goes to his fridge. He doesn't grab a Snickers bar. He grabs a stick of butter. He takes a bite out of the stick of butter. He chews, he finishes the butter, and it says, "That's not my Snickers." And it cuts again. Because it's a movie in a movie in a movie. And now, it's me filming it. I'm filming the other guy. I have the whole slate stuff, and then he like says a joke like, "Does anything matter? Are we real? Does anything exist? Is anything real?" And then it cuts again to me editing the movie.
Oh my gosh.
And I take a bite out of the Snickers, and I say, "I don't even like Snickers." And I throw the Snickers bar back, and the movie ends.
You're strange, man.
Completely absurd. A completely absurd build-up. It gets more and more absurd the more it goes on. I'll have to send it to you, because it's completely absurd. But obviously, like, the theme behind it is, does anything matter? Does anything exist? Like, that's a philosophical thing.
Yeah.
I use it as a joke. Like, the final, like, set dialogue in the film is like, why zombies? Why any of this? What the hell? And that's it. That's all I use it for. And I don't know. I find stuff like that fun. Because, like, I want to do the film BFA my school has, which means I'm going to have to write an essay on what do I bring to film. And I think what I bring is a weird, because my teacher and classmates have essentially created a term called Alex humor. Because my humor is it kind of sticks out. It's not your normal, like, film humor. And I think that's what I bring to film. Like, but that film I made, it's called Apocalypse with a question mark. That's what happens. That's what I write when I have no self-control. Because typically, there are restrictions from my teachers in class, and I typically have self-control. Like Alex point, I had some sense of self-control when writing it. I try not to go too far. Apocalypse is what happens when I take the leash off and go wild. This is like, Apocalypse is what happens. That's rabid dog Alex. Compared to Alex point, that's just a very hyper golden retriever puppy. Like, one's rabid, like, oh god, what is this? The other one's like, okay, that's a lot. But I think that's one of the things I bring when I make narrative stories. It's like, obviously, I have serious stories in my mind. I don't want to orally tell these stupid, cheesy camp stuff. This isn't all I want to do with my life. Like, next semester, I'm doing another film class, and I plan on making most of the films stupid, cheesy camp, and I'm just gonna put one ultra-depressing film in the middle, because why the hell not? Why not? Because I want to have range as a filmmaker. I don't want to only be able to make one type of film, but I do think that stupid, cheesy camp is one of the things I bring to it, because I can fully embrace it, and I still think I tell really fun narratives that make people go, that was funny. And because that's who I am as a filmmaker. Obviously, film's this ultra powerful tool that you can use to sway emotions, sway beliefs. You can do all these really powerful things. But deep down, what I want to use film for is entertainment. And is that film at its purest? No, I'd say film at its purest is really just moving images. Something like Man with the Movie Camera by the Russian guy. That, I feel, is cinema at its purest form, because it's all about the moving camera, about showing people in their lives and what they're doing with their lives. But that's not what I want to make. I want to make stupid cheesy camp, make you laugh stuff. And the Alice Point premiere was very vindicating. People laughed. There's nothing worse than making something that's supposed to be funny and the room is...
Comedy is like really, really difficult, and if you don't hook the audience within the first like 10-ish minutes, it is an upward battle.
And
you did really good in hooking them in those first 10 minutes so that it wasn't an upward battle.
And with Apocalypse, I did the same thing. When we were doing feedback, everyone afterwards was like, that was funny. And it wasn't just like, oh, that's funny. That was a very different kind of funny, which I took as like, I never really thought about that. And honestly, like, when I decided I wanted to be a filmmaker, I didn't think that my trademark would be stupid, campy comedy films. But you know what? Right. Apparently, I do a good job at it. So maybe that is my calling, making the stupidest type of movies that make the big boy cinephiles puke. Like Martin Scorsese watching my college, like watching Alex Point, he would puke. He'd be disgusted.
He would want to gouge his own eyes out.
But, but I feel like I've made people laugh, and that's one of the main things I want to do. I want to make people's lives better. I want to use film as a tool to enhance lives by giving them a good time so that they can remember. Because that's what cinema did to me. It made me laugh. It made me have a good time. And so much of what I am comes from all these movies I've watched. And that's what I want to be able to do.
Right.
So yeah. How about acting in Alex Point? How was that?
Well, that was
good.
I'd say it was good, more often than not. We're all of us already had like friendships going on for years before that, which made it really easy. So I've done a few small projects with people I've never met, and the chemistry just isn't as good most of the time. Especially because we also like with filming, most of the time you don't get to do like rehearsals. You get to do maybe one or two, and then they start filming, right? But and that goes for all filming, including Alex Point. But since we had already known each other for so long before Alex Point, it made things like really, really easy in terms of reacting off one another and all that stuff. And I think it worked really, really well.
It also helps with, like, most of y'all weren't even playing characters. You were playing yourselves, too.
Well...
You're one of the exceptions.
I wasn't.
I'm technically... Me, Josh, and you are technically the three exceptions there. As we all have doppelgangers.
He played Uncle Sam.
Oh, and Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
I honestly forget Uncle Sam's in the movie, so...
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like the set had a really good balance of screwing around and actually getting to work. And I think it was a perfect way to ease me into filmmaking. Is obviously, once I have like actual film budget and higher ups are like looking down at me like that, I'm not gonna be able to screw around as much. But I feel like that amount of screwing off allowed me to like get more into the feel and more comfortable with it. It's like, obviously, you've been on set, so what's the like the major differences between the Alex Point set and like what a real film set looks like?
Overall, there weren't that many differences. Don't get me wrong, Alex Point was a lot less professional. But like, it was kind of a similar thing. It was more, yeah, I forgot how to speak. Hold on, I'm gonna need like 10 seconds of just silence so I can remember English for a moment. All right. Anyway, so I think Alex's point, kind of going back to since we all knew each other, it was easier thing. It made it easier to like screw around and all that stuff, which worked out because we're all friends and no one got like pissed off that we weren't making progress because we still made a lot of progress. Whereas like I tried goofing off with just some of my friends when we weren't even filming on a different project. But the camera crew was like, please hold still, stop doing what you're doing, and I was like, oh, all right. So yeah, I think less professional was the only like main difference that I saw, because overall, like order wise, everything is very, very similar. We would like go through what we would be doing, going through the blocking, all that stuff. Then we would rehearse it once or twice and then film it until we got it right, and then move on to the next scene or the next shot or whatever.
Yeah, I will say one of the big things I learned myself is I gotta do a lot more character work, because I didn't really work with you guys on characters a lot. And for the most part, obviously we were playing ourselves for the most part, so it wasn't too much of an issue. But it still would have been nice, and I think it would have made some performances pop more. And more takes. A lot of things were one and dones, and I shouldn't have done that. Obviously, that was because of time. Like, obviously, when you're not like at a professional set, you don't have professional actors. Like, everyone was there because they wanted to be there, and so I didn't want to do a Kubrick and do one scene like 500 takes. I didn't want to do that, obviously. That being said, I think I was too lenient on the amount of takes I was doing, as I do think more options are obviously way better. And there are some stuff I was adding, like, I don't have another take, do I? Oh well. And I just think, to me, what the big difference is, we didn't have a tech crew. We were our own tech crew. So it's funny, because you were like, the camera crew was telling you to stop screwing off. The camera crew was us. The camera crew was screwing off. And I also find it funny because you were also like, no one's pissed off that we weren't making progress. There were a couple of times where I was like, we need to hurry, particularly when we were shooting outside. And when we had Ethan,
every now and then
because Ethan obviously had a strict, he needs to go at a certain time because he has work.
Right.
And when we're outside, oh gosh, it's dark out. And unfortunately, some problems were like, James had work, so he had to get there late. So it was like, okay, we have like 5 minutes with James outside, and we need to hurry. And but for the most part, definitely like there was like no like anger about not going fast, especially in the early days. I feel like it's something that I got a lot as I got more comfortable in the director's seat. I think I definitely got more strict as we went along.
A little bit, but like it was like it needed to be done. So,
and I think that was less me trying to be an asshole, more just me getting more comfortable. Like, I'm director. This is my shoot.
Right. You're director daddy.
We aren't going fast
you
enough. I need to director daddy this thing and go faster.
Right.
And of course, obviously, it was never something if I was a little like we need to go faster, like that was never supposed to be obviously mean. You'd understand that obviously because you've been on a set. But like for the others, it was never supposed to be like mean or anything. It was like, we need to go. We need to. What's the song? I can't remember. We need to get down to business.
I'll make a man out of
business.
I couldn't remember the words. And I really think not having a professional crew was both a blessing and a curse. Especially for our first film, it was a blessing because they can't make fun of me not knowing what I'm doing.
Right.
And also, again, like I said, kind of that ease into the process by kind of more screwing around and having fun. But it was a curse because it meant that we had to do everything ourselves. And if I had like an assistant director that could have said, Alex, you moron, use the 180-degree rule, then slap me, that would have made some scenes better, obviously. But again, first movie, people don't sit down and be like, you know what? It's time to make my first full project. I'm going to make it feature length. People don't do that. You don't jump into nothing to a 50-minute film. You make 5-minute shorts. You make a bunch of short films to ease yourself into a feature length. You don't go right to feature length. I'm insane. I'm a bloody loony. Because I go right into the 50-minute feature length crap. You don't do that. So, especially considering that, I think it's a miracle Alex Point turned out as good as it did, actually.
think it's kind of the thing with acting. Like, you start with plays, musicals, go on to short films, and then you can go on to, like, TV shows and movies and stuff like that.
Movies before
Unless you
TV
wanna
shows.
stay on
TV
stage.
shows, to my knowledge, are the hardest.
Yeah, they're not
Yeah.
easy.
'Cause
Because,
I
like,
don't-
you know, with movies and stuff, you don't shoot in order. You never shoot in order. And the same is with shows. But I don't know why I figured with shows you would still go episodal. So you would film episode 1 out of order, because that's how you do it, and then go on to episode 2. You don't. There were days that I did episode 3 the same day as episode 1. And it was like... Because characters grow throughout a series, right? So you have to quickly make that change of growth in the same day.
And I think, like, obviously that's an issue that didn't even exist back then, because now there's a lot more time that goes into pre-production. Like Doctor Who, by the time this is up, season 2 of the rebrand will have already completed filming before this is, like, right as season 1 starts airing. That's a huge gap. But back in the day, they actually used to film episodes in order because they would film them like 2 weeks before they aired. Like, think of all these like 60s shows, like 60s Doctor Who, there were 40 episodes a season. So, like, they'd be like non-stop for like essentially a year of like production. And that's intense. That is crazy, and it's so good that we don't do that anymore. Because that's bad for everyone involved. I mean, with Doctor Who in particular, the straining of schedule is why William Hartnell had to leave because of health issues, because he had enough health issues that he could not do that anymore. Which obviously gifted the show with its greatest asset, which is regeneration. But still, something that wouldn't have happened if it was filmed like a modern TV show, Doctor Who would have died with the first Doctor. There wouldn't have been a second Doctor. It's just one of those little things of like modern television is such a different landscape, and in some ways it's better. You have a lot more time to do things, but you're also more likely to have Netflix cancel your ass after one season.
Yeah.
And you know, Cole was my camera crew for Alex Point. He despite us being like the same grade level, he's like 20 steps ahead of me and knows so much more, and I don't even know how. Because he always has, not even just where he goes to school, he just always has. And like, he uses all these like fancy terms, and I'm like, what's a gaffer?
You know what a gaffer is?
Yeah, it's sound guy, I do now. I'm on the sound.
Okay, good.
But like when he first used it, I was like, what's a gaffer?
Well, like I learned what a gaffer was my sophomore year of high school. To be fair, I took like special acting classes outside of DC, but
I did too.
Still, buddy, you gotta know what a gaffer is.
I do now, just don't ask me to define it right now, because
Define it right now.
no, I know that like they're a sound guy. Aren't they like the ones with like all the tape and like get everything set up and all that? Yeah.
More or less, there's more that goes into it, like a lot more that goes into it. But that's part of it.
I think one of my classes this semester is called Lights, Camera, Action, and it's about pre-production and production. So I have a feeling I'm finally gonna get like a hands-on like, this is all pre-production. Because pre-production is really weird when you don't know how you're supposed to do it properly. Because I was like, I need to find sets, but I don't really know who to ask for a lot of these things. Like, if I want to use like a public space, like technically you need a permit. I didn't do that. Which makes it all the more funny that we filmed right in front of the police station.
Yeah.
Technically, like, and that's all stuff like, obviously I need to know who to ask, but also, once you're in the big boy leagues, you'll have people that are smarter than you with that.
Right.
Because obviously, like, I'm someone who, I want to know how everything works, but I don't need to be great at everything. Because everything's so specialized. Like, you're a cinematographer. It'd be nice if they know how to, like, edit, or how to do lighting. Actually, they should know how to do lighting, actually. I take that one back.
Cinematography.
But it'd be nice if they, like, know how to edit and how to do sound design, because that can help them when they're, you know, working with the director to create shots. But they don't have to be super efficient, because they're most likely not going to be the ones editing. Unless your name's Alex Little, where you edit, write, direct, cinematography, and all the 50 yards of filming. I was my own gaffer. That's a joke. We didn't have enough sound equipment to have a gaffer.
We didn't have any sound equipment.
Again, the film sounds surprisingly good for only having a shotgun mic on the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will use boom mics next time.
Yeah, probably smart. That was another difference between this and professional stuff, is just lack of equipment was insane.
Yeah. I would have used a lapel mic
and
if I could find it. I finally found it. Yeah, lack of equipment was a big thing.
Yeah.
I made a movie with shoestring budget and equipment. Again, for what it is, I think Alex Point is
it did great
impressive.
for what you had, 100%.
I think I actually managed to I think I actually made something really, really good. You know, for what it is, I'd even call it great. Like, obviously, if you compare it to a film that actually had proper resources, proper equipment, proper time, proper budget, obviously those films are infinitely better. But take all that away. Chris Nolan, make a movie with $600 in non-professional actors or equipment. I dare you. It would still be better than what Alex Point, but I'm still really curious to see what it would look like. Because I wonder
I hope he watches this and does that.
Because I wonder how much better would it actually be. Obviously, the directing would be better. The shots would be better. But what would it sound like? Christopher Nolan is someone I have a lot of complaints with his audio balancing already. So would that be better or worse when you take away all the equipment?
All that you said is $600. You didn't say where those $600 would go. So maybe some of that $600 goes to a boom mic.
Exactly. But maybe then they wouldn't have costumes. Maybe then they wouldn't have props. And it's really interesting. I would actually love to see these high-end, high-profile, amazing directors, inspirations. And I'd love to see them do this, because obviously they could. They could do it really well. And I'm very curious what it would look like. I'd love to see a 50-minute, $600, low-end, non-professional everything from Spielberg, Nolan. I'd love to see it so I can compare where I'm at to where they are. Because their directing is so much better than mine. So the performances, I want to see the differences in the performances, the differences in the cinematography and the setup. I'm just so curious what it would look like.
Mm-hmm.
Because that, to me, would show me what I'm lacking. That's one of the reasons why I did do a feature length, is to me, that was the best idea for me. That was the best idea in my head of like, okay, let's find out what I'm truly lacking, where I truly need to grow. By imitating the big dogs. And I think it worked. I know exactly where I need to grow. I know what I need to do to be better. I need to get more, like I said, push more character stuff, more takes. Obviously, getting better with getting good-looking shots, that's something that takes time.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there were some pretty good shots. There were some not good shots. The green screen shots obviously weren't. But some of the non-green screen shots I think were really cool. I love long shots, and I didn't really get to use a ton in Alex Point. I didn't get to use a ton of long takes either, sadly. But I had that one long-ish take with Seth walking to Jim Bob's body. I love that shot. The shot where Ethan kills Jim Bob, where you only see his mouth in the gun. I thought that was creative and cool framing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a good shot.
I agree.
I think what Alex Point shows is that I have potential. I think that's what it truly shows, and that's what makes me so happy. I've watched it 6 days in a row, and I never hated it. I never got sick of it. Like, I got to where I was like, I hope I don't have to watch this a 7th day in a row. But I could if I had to.
Right.
And I feel like I'm making such good progress as a filmmaker now, and that wouldn't have happened without Alex Point. I think really throwing myself off into the deep end like a stupid idiot. Like, I jumped off the diving board without knowing how to swim.
Right.
And you know what? I got out of the swimming pool on my own. I didn't need no lifeguard's help. And it feels so
Damn
good.
right. Damn right.
Yeah! Anyways, Seth, we haven't heard from you. So, have you been on a big boy set yet, or is Alex Point it? Because I know you want to do film acting, but I know you've mostly done stage up to this point.
Yeah. I have not been on like a film set quite yet. I do want to get started on doing some short films first, so that way I can get a feel for how it is. I'd say the type of actor that I am and that could probably benefit films and stage even is I'm definitely a movement actor, so I delve a lot into the movement of my characters. Like, for instance, I had a final that we did in my Acting 2 class. The professor who taught that class was actually on a pretty well-known TV show. I'm not going to say what the TV show was to keep their privacy, but
I had an acting coach on Gilmore Girls.
Huh. Wait, hold on. Who was the... Was it like an actor or was it
Actress,
a
yeah.
technician?
Actress.
Huh.
She wasn't like
Wait.
the main Gilmore Girl, but she's in plenty of the episodes, yeah.
Huh.
Recurring characters in TV shows is still a really good gig.
Yeah.
Most of my professors have been stage actors more than film.
Yeah, makes
But-
sense.
Still huge projects, huge, big stuff. It's pretty cool.
But yeah, I'd say, looking at my final from last semester, I had to play an old man who was like tending to his garden and stuff like that. And one of the things I did was I specifically, anytime I wasn't speaking or anytime I was just listening to the other characters, I would delve more into the physicality, like just looking at the flowers and like analyzing the flowers that were on set and stuff like that. Making it look a little bit, well, it's obviously not real. I wanted to make it seem like it was real, like play into the illusion. 'Cause that's what acting is, kind of.
What was I gonna say? Crap, I had something in my mind. Oh yeah, like something I'm starting to do is I'm starting to slowly like get a group of people that I know want to act in future projects. Like, I want you both, but you also live farther away from where I go to school, so the chances of me getting you guys for a student, like a film in a school, unless I'm filming it hometown, is unfortunately pretty slim, but you're still both on my mind. Zach and Jay are both people that I know. Like, Jay, after he walked up to me, is like, "You're gonna put me in your next movie, right, Alex?" So I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. And of course, I also got started to develop a network of people up where I go to school as well, both within the film department and outside the film department. Like Kai, I mentioned he was in Apocalypse. I want him to be the co-lead in the Brandon Man movie. He's someone that's on my network. I'm gonna use him a couple more times. And that's what going to school as a filmmaker is about. Networking. Developing people that you want to actually use. Like, Brandon here knows Julian. I know Julian. He's a good person to know. He's a good
He's a
person
great
to know. Because he's
Really
phenomenal.
good actor.
He's phenomenal. He's gonna have a great career. And hopefully both of you
100%.
will too.
I really hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so too.
You know, it's an interesting time to be getting into the film industry.
Yeah, especially with all the strikes and stuff like that.
They're
that happened.
over, but
I think
they don't seem to have made a big
Yeah.
difference in Hollywood yet. So
Mm.
Hollywood
That's-
seems
I'm
more or less
honestly-
the same.
I'm debating not going into film and staying on stage.
I think
Honestly,
that would be fair.
that does, at this point in time, does make a little bit of sense. But the problem is you have less filmmakers scouting out stage actors.
Right.
Because that's how you used to get good film actors. Marlon Brando was a stage actor. And like all these like classical names, they were stage.
Mm-hmm.
But all these modern schmucks that are kind of wooden, nepotism, not stage. All these big new actors are related to some big old actor. You aren't picking up random schmucks from theater anymore. It's just like, what? Because I one day want to go to a show in New York, be like, holy crap, that's Beckett. And then be like, yo, Beckett, you want a film role? I got one just for you, bro. And because that's at least how it used to be a whole lot more. And at least in Hollywood, in the US, it's not. Now, those British people, they still kind of do pull a lot from stage. It's like all these big British actors, they started on stage. Patrick Stewart, Benedict Cumberbatch,
Really? He
Ian
started on
McKellen.
stage?
They're all stage. I'm pretty sure Benedict Cumberbatch is. I'm not as positive, but the other two I said I know for a fact. They still do stage acting, even.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Stewart was in Waiting for Godot, wasn't he?
And Ian McKellen.
Oh,
They were co-stars in it.
Wrong name. Yeah.
I think to acting takes a lot of determination because you're going to be denied roles a lot.
Oh,
like
yeah.
there's no ifs, ands, or buts to that. You're going to be denied roles a lot, and you cannot let that get to you.
No,
You need
the biggest... Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Brandon.
Oh,
I was
right.
done.
I was just gonna say the biggest like acting is such a competitive field. Like I've auditioned for a lot of things at school so far, and I haven't gotten a lot simply because I haven't shown anyone what I can do yet. Not probably more than that because there are a lot of talented people in high school too, but like it's so competitive that like we need something that high school needs is we need an acting practicum in order to graduate, at least one for theater majors. And a lot of like here's a really good example. We're doing Cats the Musical this semester, and it is a 19-person cast, and I think we had somewhere over 80 people audition. Like it is a competitive field.
Yeah. I mean, I've done that, like, our high school, me and Seth's freshman year, the play was Cat and the Canary. That's 10 people.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's
You're a
really,
good man.
it's really easy to be a mid-tier actor. It's really easy.
100%.
It's really hard to be a great actor.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we're kind of that time in Hollywood where the great actors have all been there for a long time. The only new great actors are from abroad. Because all these international films are using these great actors, they're discovering them, and then we're looking at them like, hey, come to us. When we should be finding our own great talent too. Now obviously there's nothing wrong about seeing like this great French actor and be like, hey, you should come over to us. There's nothing wrong. But it's no secret Hollywood is the biggest player in the film industry. And a great actor deserves the biggest stage.
Right.
But we also need to scope our own great talent. Like, we can't let everyone else do their own work for us. The only talent we find are the mid-tiers. We need to find the top tiers.
Right, I agree.
We need to find more of these phenomenal actors, and also roles helps. Like Robert Downey Jr., like he's obviously great as Iron Man,
Oh, 100%.
but seeing him in Oppenheimer was like, Robert Downey Jr. can act? And it was mind-blowing. He truly, like obviously people have been considering him a great actor for years because of Iron Man. With Oppenheimer, he's like, oh yeah, were you a doubter? Were you a hater? Well, screw you. I'm a great actor. And it's like, he's a great actor. Like, he could easily win a ton of awards off of Oppenheimer. By the time this video is uploaded, hopefully he has. He might have won a Golden Globe. I'm not positive.
I think he's won some stuff for Iron Man.
Oh, he definitely. I think he has. I think he won. I'm gonna quickly Google it. I think he won the Golden Globe. Yep. He won supporting actor in a motion picture, Oppenheimer, Golden Globe. And
No, he's one of the greats for sure.
he
good.
is. And before Oppenheimer, if you asked me, I would have probably said he's a good actor. But Oppenheimer's like, oh yeah. There's so much more to him than just being a slightly more egotistical version of himself.
Right.
And there's a bunch of like actors that you also don't think of as greats, but they are. Michael Cera is awesome. I don't know if I'd call him one of the greats because he is very samey, but he's so much fun to watch. Like, Michael Cera steals the scene in almost every movie he's in. Whether it's Scott Pilgrim or Barbie, he's top tier in every scene. And is almost always a highlight. I feel the same way with the Ryans, Gosling and Reynolds. They're both also so enjoyable.
100%.
Question for my actors. Do you guys have agents yet?
I'm
I
with
do
an
not.
agency, which
That's good,
is
that's
a
good.
start. Yeah.
I still need to get an agency. I think I'm going to try and get one after college. Right now, I'm just trying to get
I
a
would
lot of...
start now. I'd start now. Start
Yeah.
scouting agent auditions whenever they pop up and start doing them whenever you can. Because you'll only get better the more you audition. Because I've auditioned for an agent before. I've done it multiple times. I've never gotten signed, obviously. If I got signed, I'd actually want to be an actor. But that's one of those things you really gotta be proactive about in the modern day. Is if you don't get an agent early, you're not going to be in film.
Yeah.
Like
I don't
Julian,
think it's as
Julian has
cut
an
and dry
agent
as
already. I know multiple. I've known multiple people that have agents. And do they always get roles? No, but they get auditions for roles.
Mhm.
That's the
Yeah.
big one.
Definitely.
Anyways,
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, no, you go
I'd
ahead.
be looking at it pretty soon. But yeah, I think when it comes to yeah, Brandon, like you said, acting is super competitive, so you just kind of need to keep on finding roles, and also know that there's not just one like area of acting. You have stage acting, you have film acting, voice acting, all of that stuff. And
Yeah.
voice act definitely someplace that I would probably recommend starting. You also need to get lots of what's the word? Mentors and stuff like that. Mentors that have big names in the industry.
Right. Definitely.
And you gotta keep in mind, there's not just film actors. There's different types of film actors. Like you got stuff like character actors as well. And when I'm about to mention method acting, I'm not talking about Jared Leto send dead pigs to your cast method acting. I'm talking real method acting. I'm talking Marlon Brando method acting, where you just do all these there's all these little exercises like improv, using improv to make sure you get in character. Because if you know your character, you should be able to just do a random improv game and be perfectly in character still. These tiny little improvisations, like what you do with your hands, and mind your little pauses and stutters in your speech. All this contribute to real method acting, like
Right.
Marlon Brando. Think On the Waterfront, which is one of his earliest movies. Like, he's a true method actor. And there's like one minor little thing he does in the film. He picks up a glove that the person he's acting with on the screen dropped. He picked it up, he fidgets in it, he even puts it on. It's all perfectly in character. That's not in the script. That's in his head.
Right.
Not in his head, in the character's head. Because that's method acting, baby.
So, what? It's 2024. Did you really just dab for the tube?
No. Your eyes are broken. Anyways.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
Anyways, gamer family. this backlot, you actually got to view a backlot for once. You really were on the studio backlot. But that's the end of this one. It's been real. I think. Oh, Bertolt Brecht?